You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast. Today on the show, I'm super excited to introduce a collector of an unusual form of media. Well, unusual to some people, maybe not some of our regular listeners. Anyways, that's big box games, but on like a much bigger scale than most of us. He also has a plethora of machines that could potentially play many of them. He's also a Guinness World Record holder, and he's also known as the PC King. And if you don't already know, I'll tell you, today we are interviewing Anne Brass. Hey, how's it going?
Yes, it's going great.
But I also have with me Paul. Hi, Paul.
Oh, right. Yeah, hey, guys.
Hey.
I'll just be sitting voyeuristically here in the corner.
Aw. Well, you can sit next to me.
Oh, thanks, mate.
So we are kind of friendly because the three of us all do have something in common. And although, I mean, obviously I haven't collected to the extent of you, but I also collect big box games, and so do you, right, Paul? And you're right into like different versions of games and things like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of a nerd for like the EGA and VGA varieties and things like that, but certainly nothing on N scale, that's for sure.
But then VGA, EGA, that's kind of like more of a graphics thing on what you collect then.
Yeah, I only like adventure games. I've tried to like other ones. I have, but because it's just adventure games, it makes it a little easier collecting because, you know, basically once I found myself with all the Sierra and Lucas titles that I was looking for, I was like, well, I'm kind of out of things that I want. So I guess, you know, now I'll just try and find the weird graphical variants and things like that.
Yeah, for me, it actually for me started as well with the adventure games. I'm a huge LucasArts fan, and that's how I already also started with Monkey Island at first. That's my favorite game of all time. Monkey Island 1 and 2 both, I like them equally as much, and I tried to collect those boxes, and this was actually in the start of not the internet, but maybe marketplaces online. Mm-hmm. So there was eBay just existed, and we had this Dutch marketplace as well online, and that's when I started looking around. Well, there was this one box in particular that I had before I started collecting games, and that was Day of the Tentacle.
Nice.
And that one game triggered the whole event of me collecting games.
Had you had experience playing games as a kid, or did you have computers around? What was your very, very early background in this sort of technology?
Well, it started out with my father gaining a computer for his work. He needed it to... he was an architect for electric wire cabinets. Not sure how that translates. But yeah, he needed a computer and the program AutoCAD to draw very technical constructions. And from his colleagues, he every now and then he gained a diskette with some games on it, or even a floppy disk, you know, these flexible big ones. So those were games like Sokoban, and I think that the first game I played was Beast. It's like a game, 3 colors or 4 colors maybe. But we didn't have that many colors on the screen. We just had a green-black monitor, so we only could see green. Yeah. And that was a fun game. You had to were monsters coming at you, all in ASCII art. So it's not really art. It was just letters, the letter H coming at you, and you had to crush them between 2 walls. Fun game, fun times, and and every now and then my father got a new diskette with new games, and then eventually Prince of Persia came along, and Commander Keen. Those are more the familiar games, I guess. and I love those. And that's when I really got hooked to playing games. And I'm not sure we were early compared with other people in my neighborhood or in my friend circle, but yeah, me and friends around me from class also had games at home, and we just played the hell out of them.
And you're quite obviously a fan of Prince of Persia, because I'm a fan of the YouTube channel LGR. So you probably know where this is going. And I was delighted to hear a familiar name pop up, because we've had interactions on Facebook and in the Big Box group and things like that. So when Clint or LGR mentioned that he had a game from Anne Bras, I was pretty excited to hear your name pop up. And it turns out you programmed a version of Prince of Persia, and it was for DOS, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that is correct. It's called Mini Prince. Back in the day when I think I was around 15 years old, and at school there was a guy who was doing some programming on QBasic or QuickBasic, and it looked so interesting, and I wanted to know more about it, because you had a screen and you could put on the screen whatever you want by typing text, and I was just intrigued by that phenomenon. And I'm a creative guy. I love drawing a lot. I love making things a lot. And this was like in the digital world. I love playing games, so maybe I could do something of myself. I could create my own games. And this guy was teaching me all about it. And it took me a couple of months, like maybe half a year, to master it a little bit. And I'm totally not a programmer, but I could do some basic things. And I managed to make it like a little tiny title screen, and a little, like one screen, the first screen that you start in the first level of Prince of Persia. Very tiny in ASCII, because I noticed that this the size of a tile in Prince of Persia is like sort of a rectangular shape, and I also noticed that these letters in QBasic also had like a rectangular shape. So if I would replace every tile for a letter, then I ended up with a sort of grid, which was similar to that one of Prince of Persia. And that also gave me the resolution for my game, because I could just count the tiles and use that many letters, which made it quite, well, not easy, but an interesting step to start with. So I ended up with this first screen, and with the arrow keys I managed to let this smiley face walk around, and that was fun. And then I left it for a couple of years, many years actually, and quite recently I found it again, luckily, and I thought, well, maybe what would happen if I made the whole first level of Prince of Persia this way? And that's what I did.
It's really cool. So did you program that in DOS, like 622?
It's QuickBasic. I really programmed it still in QuickBasic, because that's all I knew back then and still know. I just used DOSBox to start the program, and looked into it again because I had to relearn some stuff. But now my thinking is all different, and I could tackle some problems that I couldn't tackle before, and things became a lot easier. And since I love Prince of Persia, I really love everything about it. The animations, the storyline, the way you. It's always very difficult to make that first jump over those spikes. So I really try to capture these elements in my game as well. So also the cinematics are there, the high score is there, it's all in there. The cheat codes are there. Instead of you had to type Prince Mega Hit in the original game, and now you have to type Prince Mini Hit. So those were little fun things. And I added some unlockables as well, just to make it a little bit more fun and enjoyable to play and discover.
That's really cool. And for people listening, where might they be able to find that? Because I imagine they could just download it and play it in DOSBox.
Yes. There's a website. It's called miniprints.nl. I'm from the Netherlands, so it's a Dutch website. No, it's an English website, but it's NL at the end. So miniprints.nl. That's where you can find it. And there's both a DOS version and a Windows version. So you can play which one you like. The DOS version has to be played in DOS, and the Windows one you can so in DOSBox maybe, or you can play it on an original diskette. And the Windows version you can, if it's too tiny, you can just do the Windows key and then type plus, Windows key plus to zoom in.
That is really cool. And you said you had made games prior to Mini Prints. Well, actually, timeline aside, just tell us a little bit more about some other games you've created.
So when I was about 15 years old and I learned QBasic, that was the first program that I used to program some games. The very first game that I ever made was called Get, G-E-T. And it's like it's a multiplayer game with these smiley faces as characters. So like QBasic or Quick Basic games are all set up or based on these characters on screen. You could draw lines, but I couldn't do that with my knowledge of programming. So I did it with letters on the screen.
Right.
And this one smiley face has to capture the other, and you just hit the arrow keys to run after each other on the same keyboard. So one has the arrow keys and the other one have somewhere in the middle. It's not WASD, it's like, I think YGHJ or something like that. And then the one runs away but has a weapon, because it can drop a mine, and the catcher will die if he touches the mine. And the other guy can pick up the mine again and then drop it again. So yeah, it's very simple and basic, but yeah, I was 15, so that was my first game I ever made.
Wow, that's not bad.
And when we continue a little bit, I made an even simpler game, which was called Kyo. And Kyo was short for guillotine. So yeah, where heads gets chopped off. And the idea is that it's a multiplayer game where one person just mashes the down button and the other person mashes the up button, and the down button makes the blade go down and the up button makes the blade go up. So that's the whole game actually, and also still in ASCII art, and it also has a counter on how many people die in the game. So even when you restart the game, it still has that counter on. So eventually you turn it on, you see like you killed already 135 people or so. Yeah, quite fun.
That's great.
But I was very young at the time, and I just was trying things out, and things weren't that difficult back then. And later, kind of the second game I'm a little bit proud of is Hangman 3D, which isn't a 3D game. It's 2D, but it's just the character is very self-minded, that he thinks himself as a 3D character while he isn't.
That's great.
He's just too proud of himself. And it's like Hangman, but then the hangman you play on a piece of paper and you have to guess a word with letters to find and guess this word. But then as a platformer. So you're the guy who normally gets hanged, but then he comes to life, and the story of this game is that Saint Nicholas It's also a character in this game. All right, I'm going all kinds of directions now, but it's the protagonist. I know it's not the protagonist. Hangman is the protagonist, and St. Nicholas is the boss of the game, and he collects all the letters in the world, so people can't write poems to him, so they can beg for presents. So he wants to keep the present for himself, and he takes them to a big vault, and there he locks all these letters away. And there's during his trip to the vault, there's a hole in the bag with some letters drop out of the bag, and you can collect letters of which you think will form the password for the vault, the combination of the vault. So if you have collected the right letters, then you will open the vault, and then you can save the world, so people can write poems again and ask for gifts.
That's adorable.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So you're a part of the home computer museum team. How does that work? I mean, is there computers as well? So can people play the games? I mean, we're talking like normal time. Let's just pretend this isn't COVID and somebody's listening to this sometime in the future. I mean, is that what people can do? Are they just there to look? Can they play games? How does it all come together?
Well, the Home Computer Museum is located in Helmond, translated to Hellmouth in English. Helmond in the Netherlands. And it's a museum that is it's focused around the home computer. So it's the entire history of the home computer can be found there. And all these games are connected and playable. Of all these computers are all set up in a way that you can instantly grab the mouse and start playing on them. Some already have like a started game on them. Some you just see the desktop and you can play around with it. But it's all the original hardware which you see. And the gorgeous thing about this museum is that it's big, and it has all these corners, these time capsule corners. So you see like an 80s kids room, or like an office space, like maybe a part of a living room, or all different kind of desks, which are all displayed in a way that it would be back in the day. So it's like it's all decorated with these time elements as well, like the clocks, lamps, wallpaper behind the computer, the desks, the chairs even which you sit on are all from that same time period, which makes every computer gorgeous to just look at, and it really takes you back.
Yeah, that is really cool.
And besides that, then I contacted this person who owns the computer museum, the Home Computer Museum, because I was in search of a new location for my collection. And I thought that PC games would fit perfectly with PCs. Because then, you don't only have the machine, but also the games you use to play on those machines. So for me, it was really 1 + 1 is 3.
Yes.
And
Checks out.
it was all, we were all very excited about it, and that's how it happened. So now I'm there displaying my games, all of them, which is really exciting.
Yeah, well, the elephant in the room, I guess, would be conversationally would be your game collection. So, before I get more into details, the first question that comes to mind is: how do you feel about them being in a museum? Obviously, they're very safe, but do you ever get a bit of separation anxiety from them not being in the same house as you?
Yes and no. I mean, I can't even think about them fitting in the house and not being able to live in my house anymore. Uh, I need to make all my furniture out of big boxes.
You've already got the chair.
Yes, true. Yes, the PC King chair, the throne of games. Uh, but yeah, no, this is when I started collecting games, it was just for nostalgic reasons. But the intention was always the same. I wanted to collect these boxes because I was afraid that someday they would all be gone, and I wouldn't have a place where I could remember them, see them the way they were back then. So from that mindset, I collected the games from my childhood. That's how it started. And then later I met another collector, Peter was his name, and he was known for having the largest collection of the Netherlands. And we became friends. Was an older man, and he was very passionate about his hobby, and we spoke with each other a lot. We saw each other a lot, and we always were talking about these games. We weren't playing them as much. We were just talking about it for hours and hours. And 1.5 years later, this person died of lung cancer, and his collection then eventually ended up in my hands after a deal with his sons. He had 2 sons. So I lost a great friend there. And yeah, on the other hand, I gained his collection, which was a big thing.
Heritage.
Yeah, sort of. I had to pay money for it though. So, but still worth it all the way. And it took me quite a long time to realize that I was now the owner of the largest collection, at least in the Netherlands. And yeah, some time later, like a couple of years later, I discovered that I had the largest collection in the world as well, which was quite mind blowing.
Yeah, leads you to like pulling off getting a Guinness Book of World Records certificate. It looks like that was a bit of a process for you. They didn't just show up and say, "Yep, there it is, check a box and hand it over," did they? It was a bit more than that.
Yes, definitely. Well, they could have done that if I paid them more. I think it was a bit, I'm not sure, $4,000 or so to make that happen, which is a lot. And the other part would be so it could be that, or I could make a picture of all the games myself.
Each individual game.
Exactly.
Oof.
Yes, so that was the path I chose. Yes. So that takes time. It took me 5 years to do that.
Oh, wow.
And then there was the paperwork as well. There was this...
the judge person?
Yeah, the judge person. Let's call him the judge person.
Something like that.
This guy, he has this official title to be able to be a judge person. And a notary, that's the word.
There you go.
There was a notary, and he was there with the counting. We also recorded the whole counting process. And it was all set, and all he had to do was fill in the paperwork and then put the signature to it, and then that would be that. But then he retired a couple of months later, and his signature wasn't valid anymore.
Oh no.
So that sort of made us have to redo the whole counting process again.
Wow.
But I didn't want to do that. So we found another notary, and he made this notary's paper valid if that
okay,
makes
yeah.
any sense. So he wrote
Yep.
another paper to make this other paper valid in a way. And that helped, but it took a lot of time to make it all happen. And then also these official papers need to be translated in an official way by an official translator as well, and it also costs money. And yeah, there's a lot of time lost there. So it almost took 1.5 years to make that all happen and finish the whole process. So the counting was done in 2017, and I got my certificate in 2019.
Okay. That's incredible. It's definitely worth it. You're the first and more than likely the last Guinness World Record holder that I will ever speak to. So it's really quite cool. Yeah.
It's true.
What did you do today?
Yeah, well, it's really exciting. It was really a roller coaster ride for me to do all the counting. It was really cool to experience this whole process, and I didn't really do it for the title. I don't mind if someone has a greater collection than mine. It's just I did it for the fun of it, and for just stepping into this world and meeting new people, and
Yeah.
and also being able to show my collection to the world. Because already as a child, when I started collecting, my dream was always to share this with the world. I didn't want it to collect dust in my own room. I want this for people to see, for people to enjoy and admire. And that has always been my dream. So as soon as I was able to show this to the world in a museum, it was really a dream coming true for me.
Yeah, and it's a great way to honor your late friend too. I'm sure he would be extremely proud of what you've gone to do with some of the combining your two collections to make the world's largest. That's really cool.
Yeah, I can only hope so.
And I'd be remiss. I've got to ask. We're all suckers for top 5 lists and things like that. But I'm just curious. Out of the size of your collection, could you give us like your couple? I won't make you just do one, but could you give us like your couple of most prized boxes, whether it's because you love the game or because the box was hard to find, things like that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is definitely a tough question. Well, I can split it into a couple of groups, I guess. I think my all-time favorite game would be Monkey Island 1 and 2. Like I said earlier, just the story, the music, the style and feel. I always loved the pirate setting, and also the naive part of Guybrush Threepwood. He's just a very likable guy, and I just loved every part of it. So that's definitely my favorite of all time, all things considered. But then there is you can have a favorite because of the box. You can have the box art, but also the box shape. Also favorite things that come in the box, or favorite game related items. For me, the one with the prettiest artwork on the front of the box, it would be Laura Bow and the Dagger of Amon-Ra.
Yeah, great choice.
Oh yeah.
I so love that gorgeous artwork on the front of the box. And I love also how it's inspired by the art of Leyendecker.
Yes.
So G.C. Leyendecker used to make these Saturday Evening Post covers, and one of those covers, it was like a sort of paper from 1900, the year 1900, which he made like a whole bunch of them, and one of the covers inspired the cover art for Laura Bow, the Dagger of Amon-Ra. And I also have a copy of that paper. It's from 1905.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's an
nice.
antique piece. And and when you see the two next to each other, you can really see the similarities. So beautiful, and that's also why the Laura Bow, the Dagger of Amon-Ra, plays in this Leyendecker museum. I believe it's sort of a tribute to the artist.
Right.
Which is amazing. Also, the main character, Laura Bow, is also inspired by art from Leyendecker, another art piece.
What would you say for your favorite shaped box? I'm going to just guess Gabriel Knight or Day of the Tentacle?
Close, but no. No, it's actually, for me, I think I'm most excited about the 11th Hour Clockwork box. Of the way how it opens up. When you pull on the tray on the right side, the part on the left side opens up as well, as clockwork in a way, or make-believe clockwork. It's very nicely done, and I love how the shape is, and also the arm of the clock goes up towards the 11, which is amazing to me. And then I think the box that I also love is Ultra Bots, I believe it's called. Yeah, Ultra Bots, which has like a sort of mechanical box that you can align it to create a box shape, but you can also detach it a bit from each other. Not really detach it, but stretch it a bit, and then fold it in a way that it becomes like a mechanical part. A really strange shaped box with a really interesting way of movement. I think you have to see it to actually know what I'm talking about. Then there's also the June box, which has like the sandworm popping out, and when you fold it, you see this mouth of the sandworm opening and closing, which is really cool. There's also, of course, yes, the origami box from Gabriel Knight is beautiful. Also, the shape of the Prince of Persia boxes 1 and 2, they have like an hourglass shape.
That's funky.
Yeah,
I love those.
Those are really beautiful. There is the Burn Cycle limited edition box, which has like a heat sensitive front. So when you put your hand on it, it sort of captures the print of your hand on front of the box.
Right, like those T-shirts from the 90s.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like all these rainbow colors, you see your hand imprinted on the box, and then it slowly disappears again. And you can make your own images on the box, which is really cool.
Oh, cool.
So I think that's the 11th Hour box is my favorite, and also the one from the 7th Guest as well. It's a really cool one. It's a book-shaped one, and when you open up the book, you see like an illusion of a hallway with 3 doors,
cool.
and the door in the back you can open, and behind it is a VHS tape of the making of.
Wow, that is so much cooler than because the big box, I have just the hard box.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Which is already amazing art as well on the front, like with the house and the way the letters
beautiful.
of the 7th Guest is depicted is really beautiful. But yeah, this special edition is really a step further. So there are really some gorgeous examples. There's also a really odd example, which is the box of Havoc, which has the most, I wouldn't say ugliest, but maybe still the ugliest. It's made of, how do you know, this pressed cardboard which you buy when you buy eggs from the grocery store shop.
Corrugated or something, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really odd shaped box, and it has a CD on the back with some paper around it, and the shape of that box, it's I can't really explain it. It's strange. It's not from this world.
I love it.
Well, unfortunately, we've bloody run out of time. It's time's gone by really quick. I'd honestly would like to have you back on, mate, because I feel like we're just kind of getting to some of the more
Just
more
scratching
interesting
the
topics.
surface with you, my friend.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, it has been amazing with you guys to talk about my passion and maybe even a little bit of your passion as well. We should definitely get more into it maybe on another time. And I think, for me, I'm very active on the Big Box PC game Facebook group. And that's also where a lot of other collectors are also talking to each other about this, sharing a lot of information. There are even some developers on there as well. It's a really great group of where you can get in touch with other collectors with also these big box PC games. That's one of the websites I can really encourage people to go to when you are also a big box PC game collector. Also, when you ever visit the Netherlands, go to the Home Computer Museum in Helmond and experience this huge collection yourself. You would really be blown away. It's amazing to and completely different to be there in person instead of just seeing it on a picture. And also a lot of games are playable. And if you're lucky, I would be there as well, so we can talk a little bit. So definitely worth a go. Coming soon, my website of pedestalgames.com, which I'm working on at the moment. It's already there, but it's not finished yet. So, work in progress. So, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, mate. I definitely need to do this again. Perhaps next time we'll just get right into the boxes, and it kind of aroused my appetite when you brought up things in the boxes. You know, the feelies. That could probably be another hour or two conversation that I'll look forward to. But all right. I guess in the meantime, I've got homework for the listeners as usual. We're a Facebook group. Come check us out at Classic Gamers Guild on Facebook. We are on Instagram at CGG Podcast. Just throw some G's at it. You'll find us. We're on Twitter at the CG Guild. Send us an email if you like. mail@classicgamersguild.com. We do have a mailbag. Not episode, but a few questions to read out that we'll get to next week. So if you've written us, we've got them. We appreciate it, and we'll get to that next week. Otherwise, big thank you to all of our Patreons. Love you guys. Thank you for supporting us. Extra special thanks to Jay Holmes and Mark Fillion for being in that tier. Check out Mark's game, Chinatown Detective Agency, on Steam. And that's all we got time for. A huge thank you again so much to Anne Brass for being here today. Check out his website, Pedestal Games. I'm out of breath. I'm parched.
Thank you very much. It has been awesome.
It's been amazing. Thank you, mate. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Don't do a murder.